Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I'm going to be showing you a couple of alternate builds I've made using the parts from the LEGO Creator set number 31130 Sunken Treasure Mission. So to start this off, we're going to be taking a close look at these builds. Yes, I did build two separate builds out of this one set. Just thought it'd be interesting to try out two builds out of one set. So to start things off, we're going to be taking a look at the little yellow submarine. So taking a look at the submarine build, admittedly, it does look kind of similar to. The alternate of one of the smaller submarine builds from one of the alternate builds for this set. But I did went out of my way to make it look and function at least differently compared to this one. You can notice up here that it is a noticeably smaller one with these super tiny pontoons with just the propeller sticking out the backs, and has this little claw arm at the front and looks more squared off at the front of the little sub. For this one, I did utilize a build for the pontoons that's honestly not too dissimilar from the pontoons used on the side of the main build, but there are some differences to accommodate some extra features, just some extra connections. But for the most part, these are very similar to what you would get in the sets. Unfortunately, but I do feel that these pontoons here do look nice on here. And as for the main midsection of the little sub, I am overall happy with how it turned out. I did make sure to add some extra details to the front, make the front look more smoothed out in the corners. Did utilize some rounded yellow pieces to smooth the corners out here, to give it more smoothed out look from the front compared to how boxy from the front this build was. And I also added some extra details like a extra pair of headlights and what appears to be a submarine front bumper thing, but it's mainly there for aesthetic, to make things look aesthetically pleasing. Let's see. Turning around, this is how the build looks from the back. There are some weird little armatures hanging around back here, but I will explain what those are in due time. But for now, they're really just there to fill extra gaps, because under those we do have parts in random colors, but overall it's not too bad. This just covers over it, and it's overall fine. It does give off extra black and yellow details at the back, so that's fine. I also tried to make sure to greeble this midsection quite a bit, and added extra exhausts back here, even though I don't think exhaust would make sense for a small submarine, but I didn't really think about how much it would make sense. I just did as much greebling as I think made it aesthetically pleasing. And just here, turning it under, This is how the build looks from the bottom. It does have this random brick here that doesn't really contribute to the build. It's more so there as like a sort of float stand. Like I have it attached off center of the bottom so it can sit. So it can basically looks like it's floating over a ocean bed. And from most most angles that are, it does look like it's floating. Does look like it's just floating over the seabed, which is neat. Now the reason why I don't have it just at the center of the bottom, right, like this, is mainly due to it toppling over due to the extra weight of these pontoons at the back. So I just have it off center like this. But overall, it's a little like simplistic submarine that I tried to greeble up a little bit. The dome part, of course, can lift up to not only reveal more like greebling things in interior that I did for this build, but also some space where you can plant a minifigure. I'm using the minifigure included in the set. You can just sit her down, have her grab onto these like control sticks somewhat, and you can just lower this down, and there you go. We have a minifigure in a admittedly rather standard looking like yellow submarine build. It's overall, I am happy with how this turned out, but I'm not entirely. But I'm not. It doesn't look like entirely like all that like completely different compared to what is already in the set. But with the extra things that this build can do with the other build, I'm not too mad at it. I think it's fine. Oh, and something else because I did connect these pontoons via ball joints. These pontoons do have extra bits of articulation, extra range of articulation, so you can have the pontoons. So you can have the pontoons like either adjusted or have them articulate and stuff. It's yeah. Be careful with how you do that. But yeah, it's extra bits of articulation for the pontoons. That's nice. This didn't feature that sort of articulation. And yes, these of course can spin. That's nice. But with that, I think that'll be it for the submarine build for now. And now let's take a closer look at the crab. So the crab is actually like was a bit more interesting for me because I knew I wanted to build a submarine. Like I didn't for the submarine build, I was like trying to figure out like what I can do with these vehicle parts without making it look too much like the set. I think I did a okay enough job to make it look like a different type of submarine. But overall, it's like kind of samey with this one. This one I'm actually kind of happy with because if you look at the creatures in this that are built in the set, you have an octopus, you have a That's a stingray. You also have a giant red lobster. Still amuses me that they released the lobster in red. But anyway, but because of like the variety of red parts and interesting parts and other interesting parts that are in the sets, I found out that I was able to build a crab. I was able to find out, I want to build a crab. So I built a crab. It's not really based off of any type of crab, any species of crab in particular. It's just I just built this crab in mind of what I typically see for a crab. It's there's a crab in red. It has the 8 legs and it has the front it has the front claw pincers. It has the eyes up in the front kind of like this. It's a very squat sort of burger sort of shape and all that. It's didn't really have any particular species of crab in mind. It's just a type of crab. It's just a crab this is what I typically see from a crab, that's all. But I am happy with how I was able to make an aquatic creature that is super different from any of the ones in the sets. And I am pretty happy with that, despite this build's shortcomings. Well, we take a closer look at the crab. I did a fair bit of greebling, especially for the front claws. There are little bits of venting back up here and some greebling down under there. Kind of wanted to make this look like a sort of giant robotic crab rather than trying to have it organic. And I think by adding these extra bits of greeble, I think I accomplished that at least somewhat. Trying to embrace the grainness of these mixel ball and socket joints and these extra pieces that I was using for articulation and transformation. But yeah, overall pretty nice. And it does have a pair of little beady eyes in the front that did kind of pull inspiration from a tiny little red Lego Classic red set or whatever it was called. Kind of pulled inspiration from that for the front, and I thought it looked pretty nice. Showing you the underside, there are bits and pieces of other colors that I used under here. But aside from that, it does look pretty nice. It looks nicely greebled. It doesn't look hollow anywhere. There are smaller gaps and stuff and exposed studs in these little grooves, but it's overall not too bad. Here's how it looks from the back. It does have a little bit of greeblings and some pink exposed from the back, but not too bad. It looks overall it looks pretty neat. And so next up is articulation. So it is reasonably articulated. So for the arms, there is a ball joint at the base of the arm, which can move out and rotate up and go up and down. It can rotate and go swing back and forth. Pretty nice. There is another ball joint here at the elbow joint. Which can, of course, rotate and go and swing back and forth. You can rotate and go up and down a little bit. Very nice. Another ball joint here at the base of the claw, which can of course rotate and swing back and forth and stuff, and rotate and swing up and down. And to the end of the pinchers do open and shut. There's a hinge for each of these pinchers, so they can open up pretty wide, and of course can snap together, and of course can swing back in a closed position. I'm overall pretty happy with how the pinchers turned out. And as for the legs, for all 8 legs, we do have a hinge here, which can swing back that far and down that far, and a hinge here at the base, which can provide up and down range depending on. We do have up and down range, and at the base we do have a little bit of extra wiggle room to swing it back and forth a tiny bit. And we do get that for all 8 legs. We do have this sort of double hinge thing, as well as this little bit of left and right movement, side to side motion. For all that. Unfortunately, these legs alone are not really able to hold the build up that well. So what I've basically have to put them in some more interesting poses is I take a brick that's included in the set, like this one. I basically just attach it to the bottom like this, and basically what I do is I basically use that brick as a sort of extra support for the articulation in the legs. And to put in more interesting poses, have it more like it's in a walking position, or in a sort of natural, sort of more interesting pose. But yeah, not my preferred way of showing off articulation is bringing an extra brick as a support, but it's fine, and it works fine. Flat like this as well. Looks a-okay. And with that, we're just about done with these builds separately, but don't think we're done yet, because, as I said earlier, these builds can transform, but not only that, they can kind of combine Duocon style. So, to transform this, unfortunately, the crab is going to have to come apart in quite a few different pieces, so we can just start off with that, I guess. For each side, we do take these off. They are connected via 2 jumper plates on the underside, so we do take off these sections that are connected to the legs, and we just set those off to the side for now. And next we can remove this section off, which is connected to these pink studs, like so. So we can move that off to the side, and then what we're going to do is, what we can then do is basically remove this section, which is just connected via these 4 anti-studs, which are just connected to these 4 studs right here. After that, we can just remove these sections, which are connected to the snot bricks, and we can use these later. And we just set those off to the side. And this is basically like the components of this crab that come apart. It is quite a bit of parts former. It is quite a parts former in the crab's case, but with how nice the crab mode looks and how okay it integrates with the submarine, I'm okay with it. So for the submarine, we first off remove this brick, set it off to the side, swing out what's going to become the arms. Just swing those up and forward. We slightly adjust the what's going to become the shoulders. Then after that, we can start putting this build together. So, for the crab, you for the front of the crab, you basically adjust the limbs. So you straighten it out, straighten this out. You rotate the forearm sections, and then you basically swing the pincers open to form the legs. Why is that trying to form apart? I don't know, but there we go. We have the legs. Then after that, we can attach these onto the brackets, the beige brackets up here, like so. We can just attach these anti-studs onto the studs right there. Boom and boom. And there we have our bottom section. And then after that, we can just connect these studs onto these anti-studs. Just line it up like so. And then there we have our combined form, our basic combined form already to go. And here we have the build that I'm going to call Hydrotech. So taking a look at Hydrotech, it is a Duocon style of like transformation. Unfortunately, like a huge portion of the crab like sort of goes unused, which is a little upsetting, but there are ways I can integrate these sections into this robot form, so it should be fine, I think. So taking a look at this combined form, it does look kind of goofy, I will admit. It does look kind of goofy with like the little thin, scrawny arms with like these pontoon like shoulder things and like these like crab legs. But I think it looks a-okay. Here's how the combination looks from the back. Not too bad. And yeah, there's like other things I can do with this build. So we can of course show you like how these like different sections can like combine with be attached to this build. Yeah, like not a whole lot of here is like not a whole lot of new here. It's just it's just like a weird little like aquatic like combination thing. But yeah, after that we can then show off the articulation. So the articulation, there is a ball joint at the shoulder, like I showed off before. It does have a great range of motion, and I am happy with that. We do have a ball joint down here at the bottom of the pontoon, which provides extra movement for the arm itself. And it does allow for some great movement in the shoulders. I do like that. And it does, of course, provide some bicep rotation. There is a hinge at the elbow, which can go bend slightly past 90 one direction and like exactly 90 degrees the other direction. And of course, no waist articulation. But for the legs, we pretty much got like a similar thing to what we got with the crab mode. Legs can go forwards, but it is hindered by the crab shell. Can rotate a tiny bit, but more impressively, can swing back quite a bit. It does swing back quite a bit, but not that much forward, and can kind of rotate a tiny bit due to the ball joint. Knees can bend up to 90 and of course can rotate. And ankles are pretty much the same as the crab, only now we have only now they serve as feet. So they do provide a nice range of ankle rotation. They can bend up a good amount. They can bend down a good amount. These can of course be the pincers can of course still be utilized in like extra like poses like this. Like overall, it's pretty okay on articulation. It's okay on articulation. It's not all that impressive, I don't think, but it is. But at least I'm okay. But at least I think the articulation is pretty nifty. Now bringing forth the extra bits of kibble. Let's see. We have this shell thing which can be attached onto the forearms and serve as a sort of shield. Like you can utilize that as a shield, which is neat. But what I think is more impressive is the fact that what you can do with the leg portions is you can let's see how I do this. You swing the arms out. Hold on, I had something going on with the arms. I think I might have forgotten what it was. Oh, was that? I basically had some sort of. Okay, so I think it was like this. I used this side for that. Then this just bends up, and after that I just swing these down and swing those down, and there I basically have that going on, and I don't want to waste much more time, so what I'm going to do is attach the other section of legs like so, and then bam, we have a bit more of the crab parts being utilized in a admittedly pretty cool way. So we have like these extra legs serving as like these giant fingers, as like these giant like hands, giant like claw hands. It's just like a way of like trying to integrate the legs into the design. And I think it turned out like pretty cool, despite having to parts form a bit. And the arms, they just like swing back like this. It does provide extra a little bit of like it does provide an extra little bit of like edginess to the back of the arms, just like provide extra bit of detail to the arms, to these like things. And yes, in terms of articulation, the fingers are pretty much the same as on as for the crab mode. I am kind of pleased with how I was able to integrate the crab legs in here. Very neat. Very neat. Okay, so with that there's also this part here which can, not exactly sure like what this can be used for, like yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I can do with this. I tried like attaching this like back here to attaching it back here to add an extra little bit of greebling, and I guess it's fine. It does add extra little bit of red details on the back like that, but it's overall not like that pleased with that integration, so I just tend to like leave this part aside, unfortunately. But yeah, like for the most part, I was able to integrate the majority of the crab into this combination somehow. So yeah, that's nice. But something else I can do with this. So right now I have the minifigure in the submarine, and it does provide a nice looking like sort of like mecha style thing. So it's sort of like mech, so like Lego like aquatic mech sort of build. And that is fine. But in the off chance I would rather have this as a Transformer character, I could just easily remove the minifigure and throw in a head design that I've quickly threw together. And here it is. It is a very odd looking head. Does look kind of fish-like with the fins I use back here, and it almost looks like a seahorse head, to be honest. Yeah, but it does provide some like extra like details for the robot mode if I want to make this into like a sort of Transformer character. And how this integrates is basically what I do is I swing these handles down and I basically clip this clip into that bar connection in the middle right there, like so, and just swing that down and boom, and just swing this down and boom, we have hydration as not hydration, we have hydrotech. Hydration is like another name that I considered for this build, but here we go, we have hydrotech put together as a Transformer, as sort of a Transformer character. And take a look at Hydrotech's head. It does like, funny enough, like I didn't like intend for this to happen when I was putting together a head, but with the fishy looking likeness of the head in like the sort of dome design, it sort of gives me, this sort of head design sort of reminds me of the character Minion from Megamind. That's the sort of vibe I get out of this, and I actually kind of like that. It's like an extra little like feature. It's like an extra little bit, like an extra little like bit for the like sort of aquatic theme of this Duocon inspired like Transformer. And I kind of like that. It's very cute. Do think that's kind of cute. And I also have designed a gun for Hydrotech. And here it is. It is not terribly complex. It has like extra gold details and like spikes at the bottom, and have like this pretty neat looking like a gun barrel design, and it's even like a little like eye sight at the back right there. It's not all that complex, but how this basically integrates is basically there's a stud here at what's going to be what is the handle. We basically have a stud standing in as a handle, and it basically just connects to this Technic hole, like so. And there we have hydration with a gun. Now, bringing up the articulation of the head, we are going to have to lift this up. The head is actually quite an interesting bit of articulation because of how I built it. It has a rotation. Though I am being careful with how like fast I rotate this like section, because it is just connected by one stud, which is fine. It's just not a super solid connection, but it does like get the job done very well. There is a hinge which can allow me which can allow him to look up really far and down a good amount too. And because of how I connected the head to this like neck structure thing, it also has a bit of a head tilt. Like, it can tilt its head quite a bit, so it does have a very expressive like range of articulation, which I am pretty happy with. It's just a tad bit fragile, that's all. But it's not really that big of a deal, because I can just pose it however I like and not have to worry about it, because there's a big dome protecting the head. So that's neat. I do enjoy that. It does have a pretty neat, nifty gun accessory that I built for it. Okay. Oh, looks neat. And real quick, we have the skeleton here just because. And I like bringing the skeleton here. Like, why not? We can, of course, bring in the other leftover parts here. So yeah, I'm gonna be showing off the leftover parts, the parts I have left over from this build next. So these are the parts I have left over. Quite a bit. Like, you can see that I've left these pieces out. Didn't know how to use those in a build like this. Left this disc piece out. Left this large piece out. Left both of these fender pieces out. And also a ton of small things. I hardly used any of the parts from the safe. There's a lot of dark green parts in here. There's quite a bit of red left out. There's lots of smaller things that would have been really nice to use. But I didn't really know how to didn't really know for sure how to implement a lot of this into the build. But yeah, it's quite a bit of spare parts here, and just wanted to show you parts that were left over from the build. Yeah, so let's just sweep those off to the side. Boom. And designs. And we can now like try get. Oh, something I did forgot. Something that I almost forgot about this. There was actually something else that I made using some of the leftover pieces that I was initially like trying to implement into this design, but ultimately I kind of left it out because it didn't really integrate with the crab or the submarine in any way. And that is this. So what this thing is I basically put this together as like a sort of like shield weapon thing that just clips onto the hand Technic connector, and it could just spin as like a shield weapon thing. But after figuring out that this little assembly does not really implement into the rest of the build that well, I ultimately decided to just use like a different shield design. But hey, it does have a secondary purpose I honestly do kind of enjoy as like a little fidget toy. So you can just like plant this on the ground, basically spin it. And it does spin pretty well. So there is that. Doesn't really do much else for the build itself, for the transformer itself. But it is like a nice little like extra little fidget thing that I've made out of the leftover parts from this transformer like build. And so overall, I am pretty happy with how this build turned out. My like idea for this build was I wanted to build like a duocon like transformer that is like somewhat inspired off of some of those unused like Transformers like concepts, those old like unused like Transformers concept like art designs, including like some duocon designs that were half vehicle, half beast. And so I wanted to do that with this, and overall I do think it turned out pretty well. And yeah, I am happy with the overall. Like I said before, the submarine part is the like submarine like portion of the build. It does look kind of similar to like some of the other builds in the official set, but I think I made it like different enough that it's like I think I have accomplished to make it look different, like differentiated enough to make it look like a different like submarine build, to make it look more unique enough to make it look like its own thing. And yeah, of course. Yeah, I am pretty happy with how this turned out. I really liked how I was able to I do really enjoy how the crab turned out, despite its parts formingness of its. I do like how I implemented like different sections of the crab into this transformation. I do enjoy that, and overall, really glad this one is like really neat. Really glad this one turned out pretty good. So Yes, of course, I will be later on. Sooner or later, I will be posting a video on how to build Hydrotech. In case you want to try this build out for yourself. I had some pretty good fun with this build, and I hope that you guys do too. And with that, I think that'll be it for this video. If you liked this alternate build, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.